Well, today a group of freed death row inmates gathered at Missouri's capital in Jefferson City. They asked the state's court system to reconsider the death sentence of Marcellus Williams.
He is imprisoned for the murder of a former St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporter back in 1998. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon is breaking down the argument for Williams' release.
Advocates asking for the exoneration of Marcellus Williams say that DNA evidence proves he's innocent. I spoke with Williams' lawyer about what's next in the fight for his release.
There's always a chance to change course, and that's what we hope we'll see.
Trisha Rojo Bushnell represents Marcellus Williams, the man found guilty for the stabbing murder of Felicia Gale in 1998. Rojo Bushnell tells me DNA evidence the legal team plans to present at an August 21st hearing will prove his innocence.
Bloody shoe prints were not his, the fingerprints were not his, hairs found in the victim's hands were not his, and now we know that DNA testing from the knife that was found still protruding from the victim is also not his.
Others exonerated from death row gathered at the Missouri Capitol to plead for Williams' release.
I spent 17 years on Missouri's death row. Just last weekend, I celebrated my 21st year of being exonerated.
But mere feet away, Attorney General Andrew Bailey defended his decision to fight against Williams' release.
At the end of the day, the criminal justice system has to have a component of finality.
Bailey tried to block the upcoming hearing, but the Missouri Supreme Court denied his motion.
Then people forget about all of the evidence that was used to convict the defendant, the evidence that jury relied on, and the victims. And I want to make sure that we always honor the victims' voices.
Williams' execution is scheduled for September 24th, unless there is a change following the hearing later this month. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon, WGEM News.